Welcome back, everyone, to the next and last episode of the year of Data Analytics Chat, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges happening in the data and AI world. Today, we're heading to an expert in the US, and we're going to be discussing the impact on the healthcare sector with Gen AI and AI. So today, I'd like to welcome Amit Shukla, who is the VP for Global Consulting Services at IQVIA, leading healthcare organization. So welcome, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. So do you want to briefly give the listeners a brief overview, introduction to yourself?
Sure, happy to. Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I'm glad to be here. I connected with Ben a few weeks back and was really excited about what he's doing. My background, I've largely been about 2 decades in healthcare, working across commercial, marketing, general management roles, pivoting towards more data, analytics, technology, and now increasingly towards AI and Gen AI. I've worked in large, big pharma companies such as GSK, Novartis, and then just 4 years ago moved to IQVIA, where I head up global consulting services. And as part of that, our role is to remove barriers, hurdles for big, large pharma, mid-size, and also for biotech.
Brilliant. So you obviously work for some of the big players within the sector. I guess from a career standing point, was healthcare always your go-to, or was it, did you fall into it like many people?
Yeah, I would say I stumbled into it because I started after MBA with FMCG. So my first company was absolutely the best school for FMCG, Procter and Gamble. I worked there for about almost close to about half a decade. Again, marketing, sales, and really learned a lot. But somehow I was not really excited by shampoos and toothpaste. I wanted to do something more meaningful with my life and be able to impact a lot more people. And again, you have to understand my background. I come originally from India. I'm a US national. I live in New York City, one of the most advanced cities in one of the most advanced countries, but have seen a lot of poverty from up close. I've been working in Africa, I've worked in Middle East, I've worked in Russia, I've worked in Asia. I've seen the opportunity and the difference healthcare can make to people's life and then create more attractive consumers for FMCG as well. But if I can't take care of my basic health, I'm basically caught in a spiral. I'm sitting there right at the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy and be not able to move up to be able to enjoy all the products and services that are out there. So that is what stumbled me into finding something meaningful to do where I could still carry my skill set from marketing, sales, commercial, data analytics into an area which is evergreen. Yes, healthcare never goes, the sun never sets on healthcare is what I say. So that is how I came into it. And the area has just been so engrossing and has evolved so much over the last 2 decades that I've continued to stay here and enjoy it.
It's becoming more prominent nowadays, and people to look after your health. Like obviously, it's getting more and more people are get buying into it, or just actually are looking after themselves now better than I say previously how people used to. And it's also, I think, good for yourself, isn't it? Obviously, you're working in a meaningful industry that's obviously impactful and obviously good. I guess that value add, isn't it, from your personal point of view?
Absolutely. It's so satisfying when you see that products
Yeah.
you turn out are accessible to people, are available to people, can fix illnesses. So it's not, okay, I can put a cream on my face. It helps me look better. This is okay. I have a fever. How do I fix it? I have an infection. How do I fix it? How do I prevent? I have vitamins that prevent you from having vitamin C deficiency, vitamin D deficiency. So it really then takes away a lot of potential chronic illnesses that you might have later. It takes away acute infections. I used to work on a brand called Augmentin, which is GSK's one of the largest and oldest brand. It's an antibiotic. That antibiotic, if it wasn't available, a million more people across the world would have died over the last 30 years. So these antibiotics make this tremendous difference to people in parts and regions of the world which are not as hygienic, they're not as safe. The water is not as clean. The soil and the environment is not as clean as you would see in developed countries. So this is amazing how satisfying it is to see your products go in and make a difference to people's life and get them back on their feet.
Especially for me, like when I'm from the UK, living in Europe now, obviously we are. I think we do take things for granted. Like I did traveling last year, and this year to Asia and them sort of countries, and it's obviously there's so much difference, isn't it? The poverty compared to living standards, and I think obviously if you can get that rolled out across the worldwide, it's going to be so much more impactful, isn't it, to everyone, and that can whoever needs obviously whatever medicine, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now you're finding that more with data and access and able to harness the data because in large developed markets, EU5, North America, you can access data even 10 years back. Now you can read it better, you can analyze it better. But the advantage of technology and cloud has really now impacted emerging markets. Markets like India, I'm checking this poll with you um, from India, and I'm seeing so much change here. I've been here now, what, 2 weeks in India, and I haven't even drawn 1 rupee from my wallet because I'm paying everything through my mobile. It's amazing to see I'm accessing every service from health to medicine to restaurants, everything through my mobile phone. Yeah, I can't do that in the US. I can't pay everywhere. I need to take a credit card out. I can't pay through my mobile everywhere. Apple Pay can, but not on all locations. But you've got these sort of pair systems in India and other emerging markets, which people don't even have a bank account, can now access it. You can access health services. You can access so many things using technology. And the data is being used to better target, to provide better services, and that's just amazing. Same in healthcare as well.
Especially like I said to the third world type countries, is that impact is so beneficial, isn't it? It's creating massive change for everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. So let's dive into the first question. So, what roles AI and generative AI playing in accelerating drug discovery and the development?
Sure. Drug discovery is an expensive process. A typical drug that comes to market in pharmaceutical space, whether you look at cardiovascular, CNS, oncology, will cost at least $1 billion. And that $1 billion of development and maybe at least 5 to 7 years of development time is something that is then paid for by the patients over the course of the patent life of that drug. So imagine that's why the prices of drugs are so high and treatments are so expensive that a lot of people can't afford it. Now, coming with AI and Gen AI now recently, you can start to run a lot of models. You can select the patients faster. You can make a lot of things accelerated that before you were using manual processes. And that is cutting down time from that 5 to 7 years. It is cutting down cost from that $1 billion. And every penny that we reduce from those investments of time and dollars is going to impact what the final price of the drug is going to be and how available it's going to be across the world. So, not just revenue for the manufacturers comes faster because they can now generate speed to market, but they're also able to now spread and market the drug in more markets because they can price it more competitively and bring more advanced therapies earlier to a lot of second and third world markets. So that's where I'm seeing a lot of benefits. Now, when you break that down into what's the benefit AI can give, AI helps you with better data management, helps you with quick identification of the right patients from EMR and EHR records. It helps you with setting up the protocols much faster. It helps you with transferring and checking the data as the data is being collected real time from different sites when clinical trials are happening. And then when you look at the other side, Gen AI is helping to create answers for a lot of those data that's being collected and insights that are being generated. So if I have a lot of data and I have to now write a report for the medical affairs department saying, okay, how the trial is going, what are the risks we've identified, Gen AI is now helping generate those reports a lot faster. If I have to report something to the FDA, the Gen AI is helping me create the first draft of it. So I'm taking a lot of human component out, replacing it with machine, and accelerating the development and the progress of my trial. And this is something that's going to continue to go forward. Now with Gen AI, they're talking about digital twins, which is a combination of AI, Gen AI, data. How do I replicate even patient profile and posology in a digital environment? So I can run a lot of preclinical testing. Even before I get into injecting the drug into patients' bodies, I can run a lot of simulations. These simulations without cloud based or LLM models used to take so much longer before. It would take weeks. Now you can do some of these in minutes. And as the technology gets better and faster, as you get cloud, and now we're talking about last week quantum computing, a lot of these transactions will happen a lot faster. I'm really thinking that the clinical trial process and the drug discovery, drug development process, bringing it to market, that process could really squeeze out a couple of years by using and leveraging technology. And certainly quite a few bit of dollars.
No, and then obviously that's going to, even for future discoveries, isn't it? It's going to be able to make so much impact. New discoveries will come, and then hopefully, obviously good for everyone worldwide. It's going to make massive impact there, isn't it?
Yeah. You can also see like a lot of times drugs are in the market and then you find new indications that you can be proven for. Now, this is also becoming possible because of data and AI, because AI is helping us analyze the post marketing data that's available in the market. What data is being collected from doctors, from patients, what is changing in their bodies based on administering a particular drug. And then we are finding out that people are getting new indications from that. They're getting new benefits that are off label currently. Then the companies go back, they study that data. Based on that, we submit a registration back to the FDA or the EMA and are able to get new indications approved. Just remember Botox. Botox is a very good example. It is used for anti aging and wrinkles. And then the company realized, based on off label usage by certain communities or medical communities and practices, that it's also being used for migraine. And now Botox is approved as a treatment for migraine because it does exactly what it would do for the face. Now it's able to do it for the muscles that really impact migraine. And this
I
is,
suppose what obviously the data, the new learnings is just going to be so. It's just going to be incredible what's going to happen in the future, isn't it? Like new things will be found, and it's. I know that things would be found normally, but it's going to make things a lot quicker, isn't it? Now.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. And again, more accurate as well, because a
Yeah.
lot of time we used to collect data manually, then manual intervention to really study and analyze the data as well. A lot of that is now built on algorithms that are run by machines. And before the AI machines were able to read the data and find out the errors or the discrepancies much faster than humans, they could also do predictive modeling as well. Now with Gen AI, they could also generate after steps as well. So what's the next step should be? What should I do? Should I change something in my protocol? Should I change something in my drug development model? Where does more investment needed? So it's taking decisions not just for that particular trial, for that particular molecule, but is also taking decisions for how your drug development process should work. And then certainly humans are intervening in that and really analyzing what the recommendations are. And based on that, they're signing off on how we change the process for drug development. And different companies and different markets will be at a different level of sort of maturity with it. But at some point of time, this is going to become part and parcel of everything we do in drug discovery and development.
But then, how are healthcare companies using AI and generative AI to predict like patient outcomes or like simulate treatment scenarios? And
Sure. Increasingly, they're doing it at two levels. One is when they're setting up their clinical trials as well, they are really doing some of the preclinical work using these generative AI models and are able to understand what pathways to create, what type of patient pools they need, how many patients they need in each of the arms of the trial. They also understand a lot of potential pitfalls or areas to focus on in advance. A lot of this was not available to us maybe 5 years, 10 years ago. because you would fly blind into a trial, then learn in phase one, improve in phase two, and then prove it out in phase three. So a lot of that is now being with the basis of data and the quality of data we have on the patients who are part of the trial. You're able to take a lot of these decisions a lot faster and a lot more things when you're walking into a trial and going to spend multi-million dollars on that trial. Then we're also seeing a lot of development post the trial as well. So when you are responding to the FDA, you're submitting your dossiers, you're also preparing them a lot faster. And larger companies, I would say, have had an even urgent need to streamline these processes, because larger the company, more bureaucratic it has tended to be in pharmaceuticals. They tend to get weighed down by the weight of their layers and levels and approvals. Whereas that's why you see a lot of new development and new therapies that have largely come from biotech firms, smaller biotech firms, PE funded firms. They have been able to move very fast because they've been lean, but they have a limitation how far they can go. They don't have scale. So they need the help and the partnership of large companies like IQVIA, which are CROs, or large data analytic companies like Vivas, IQVIA, Eversana, or they partner with a large pharmaceutical firm like a Novartis or a GSK or somebody, so that they say, okay, we brought the drug to this point. Now let's do a performance based or a revenue based investment in it. So if you take it to phase three, you bring it to market, I can get licensing fee, which is X percentage of the revenue. So you're starting to see big companies really invest in technology and making superior work processes and making sure that they're leveraging AI and data analytics in all steps of the process. Now, the difference is that most companies very smartly are not doing that in-house. So it's not like you heard Google developed a quantum chip. I'm sure they did it with third party, but they did it. Whereas in case of pharma companies, you're not saying they are developing a preclinical or a clinical development model based on Gen AI. They're partnering with firms like IQVIA, other AI firms, the equivalent of ChatGPT and OpenAI. They're building LLM models with them in partnership with a third party, maybe an IQVIA, an Accenture, or somebody. And they're really bringing different elements together who are good at what they do and building a model. So that is, I think, the direction to go, which also brings us more speed. Because if you want to do everything in house, it's going to be getting bogged down at some point. You might go down a rabbit hole at some point. But if you've got multiple partners with the right skill set, you're able to build development models much faster. And the same is true on the commercial side as well. They'll also be able to build a better commercial model, better marketing investment models, and better go to market strategies.
And also, obviously, I know this is in the healthcare sector. You're seeing it in a lot more other industries now, aren't we? Like more partnerships. So I guess just adding that with their credentials and then adding more value. And then, like you said, I think one of the key things is obviously businesses want to make money. They can do that a lot quicker. So it's obviously having a knock on effect. And yeah, we are seeing a lot of sort of speak to a lot of different people. Like the partnerships are making massive impact for firms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the way forward, because nobody has all the cards in the deck. You're seeing LLM models are coming out from OpenAI, they're coming from Llama 2, Llama 3, which is Meta. You're seeing models come out from other companies that were standalone. They just have the ability to harness a lot of data and build models with it. But to train those models and be using them for pharmaceutical, you need pharmaceutical grade data. You need EMR, EHR data. You need patient data. You need sales data. You need clinical data. That most of these tech firms don't have access to that data in the quality and at the scale that pharmaceutical companies have. But if so, that's why when they come together, it really creates an opportunity to harness that data and be able to train the models better so they're able to give a lot better responses. So less errors, less hallucination, less bias. That's what we want out of these Gen AI models. And that's when more trust will build and they're able to do it correctly. I mean, think about it. You book a ticket online with an airline. There's a website like an Expedia or a booking.com. It books your ticket or hotel. But it knows now after years of doing it that yes, that room is available in that hotel in Prague. and I'm booking it for you when you're sitting in Bangkok, for example, and you're flying a month later. Yeah, this was not perfect before. You booked a hotel and then you find out, oh my God, the data was not real time. The hotel was already sold out. Same is going to happen here as well. The models will continue to churn through a lot of data, get trained, and then they'll become so powerful that they will be able to answer a lot of questions. And then eventually, not just answer data on reactive available data, but they'll also be able to predict what type of data will come out.
What are going to be what are some of the key challenges then in implementing AI and generative AI in healthcare at the moment?
Oh, multiple, many. I think the first and the most important is privacy and consent. So patients should be willing for their data to be accessed and used in a way that models are trained. And then those models are used to develop new objects. The second is ability to find quality data. So you need enough players to collaborate with the right models and the right LLM firms and the right Gen AI companies to be able to create something that is making sense. A lot of companies are not willing to really share their data because they're afraid that their data might get misused. Or models might be created that create drugs that probably they're not strategic to them. So that I think is a key thing. It's a lot easier on the commercial side when you have a product in the market and you're using it for sales effectiveness, you're using it for marketing effectiveness, you're using Gen AI for content creation. It's a lot easier because you're not putting people's life at risk at that point. You probably don't need as much patient data, consumer data. You're using sales data that can be easily de-identified. So what you will see is less challenges on the commercial side, more challenges on the clinical R&D development, medical side. And the key barriers to it would be the privacy and consent to the data at a patient level, then at a company level, then at a country level as well. Because now with all GDPR and the guidance around how data has to be managed, especially medical and HIPAA compliant data, it can't be taken out of country boundaries. And a lot of times that's a challenge as well for companies on how do they protect and be in line with the guardrails that have been put by key market bodies and be able to still leverage the data in the best possible way and combine it across markets. And then the last bit would be, I think, certainly the cost of investing in this. So a lot of companies still find it better to do things the traditional way. It takes a little bit longer, but if you're going to put out 10 drugs in the market, you can wait a year. Some companies would feel that way, but they want to do it right. The company's valuation, the company's ethics, everything is riding on that. You don't want a big AI, Gen AI related fiasco that could result in a massive reputational damage to a firm as well. So I think those are things that are top of mind for people. And that's why you see it in healthcare, not just in healthcare, but even in data and privacy, a lot of regulations are being worked on, a lot of discussions are happening at a association level, at the health authority and health body level, and also at a country and regional level as well, in terms of what guardrails to put in place to be able to manage the data a lot better.
Good points, and also, yeah, many of them, I think they of are appearing in other industries as well. I think it's what I think is good about like talking about different industries. Is everyone's on a different journey, but it's so much over. I know data's getting more domain focused, but there's so much overlap, isn't there? You can, if you look at one industry, you can still apply it to another industry. It's still similar like challenges. Obviously, there's different ways around it, but yeah, I think it's still everyone's on a different path, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. But the money, the amount of money involved, just to give you perspective, think about it. The FMCG industry is about $4 trillion globally. The global economy is about $100 trillion. Yeah. FMCG industry is about $4 trillion. Pharmaceutical industry is about $1.7 trillion. So it's half of the FMCG industry. We don't usually realize that. The FMCG industry spends about 4 to 5% of their 4 trillion on R&D. A bulk of it goes to marketing. Margins are lower in FMCG. In pharmaceuticals, about 15 to 20% of the money goes into R&D. You know, so you think about it, 1.7 trillion, 15 to 20%, you're talking about 340, 350 billion. That amount of money goes into R&D. About 150 to 200 billion goes every year into clinical trials. So it's a huge amount of money that is out there that really, if managed well, becomes more efficient, you can squeeze a lot out of it. And then you're seeing AI and Gen AI also coming in on the manufacturing side as well. Now we're creating better manufacturing techniques using the data. You're using better ways to track the product in the supply chain. You're using AI for better tracking raw material, forecasting demand a lot better, doing supply planning a lot better. All of these things will also make a difference in terms of squeezing the cogs of the product as well. So the cost of goods of the product. And that in the end will eventually result in lower cost of development, lower cost of manufacturing, more efficient marketing, better targeting through digital marketing tools to patients and to HCPs and healthcare practitioners and hospitals. You take a lot of fat out of the entire value chain. In 1.7 trillion industry, think about it. If you took about 5, 7 points out over the course of 3 to 4 years, that's huge. Each percentage point is like $17 billion. So 5 percentage points is about $100 billion. Some countries don't even have a healthcare budget of $100 billion outside the top.
She says. And then I guess how is AI? Obviously, talked about obviously. I know this, especially in the healthcare sectors. Obviously, vast amount of data, and it is obviously sensitive data as well, isn't it? Like, to be fair, compared to other markets. So, how is AI and generative AI improving like data integration and management across like healthcare systems?
Very good question. So I think a lot of time, a lot of energy and time is being spent on data and privacy, but the data and privacy part of the data is a small sliver of all the data we collect in health. It's patient related data. Think about it. Patient related. As soon as you de identify the patient, replace my name or your name with an X and a Y, you know, well, nobody can detect who that patient is. Then you can really bring a lot of that data together. AI is also helping us making the data more harmonized, making it more de identified, making it more easy to combine from different platforms, different sources, different EMR registries, different EHR registries. All of that data will come together to a point where AI is able to read it a lot. Because one of the things we want to train these models, you have need to have data in scale, as I was saying before, but you have to have this data well set and harmonized. If you bring a data in scale, but it is in 19 different formats, the LLM is only as good as what the input is. If the input is garbage, the output will be garbage. So that's why it's so important to really leverage these AI tools. And that's why there's a lot of very good companies that do what we call ETL processes: extract, transform, load. So when the data goes into your cloud, whether it's a aggregator of data like global data or IQVIA, or it is a company that is collecting its data from its health networks, from patient networks, they usually want to get the data harmonized there. Then they can leverage that data with different models and be able to get a lot better answers. It's chicken and an egg. I can get better outputs, but I need better input. To get better inputs, I need to use the same machines to give me better output. So I think it's starting to come together. The most important is awareness. Second is don't fear the privacy, because the privacy impacts a sliver of the data. A lot of data outside of privacy is outside of privacy. Sales data, commercial data, laboratory data, a lot of that is easily de-identified for years and can be leveraged. It just used to exist in different formats, was not enough scale. And now with the advent of LLMs and Gen AI models, people have realized that the more we get the data in a better quality and a top quality shape, the better we'll be able to run these models and get better outputs and insights.
Cool. And then, I mean, what's say? Can you give an example of like generative AI? An example of generative AI, how it's being used to impact the healthcare industry.
Absolutely. Think about it. Like a lot of times, doctors are collecting a lot of data. You write a prescription as well, patients are coming in, lab tests are happening. Gen AI is now able to bring a lot of this lab data and scans of prescriptions, any tests that have happened, and connect a lot of this together. It's able to bring a lot of this together. And then by prompts, you're able to ask questions about, okay, where do I see a surge in new infections? It's able to connect a lot of those pieces of data and able to provide you insights that were not available before. So AI can automate, but Gen AI can provide you insights a lot faster. And that's where we are seeing a huge advantage. You're able to identify points of issue a lot faster. You're able to identify incidents a lot faster. You're able to identify short supplies a lot faster. You're able to understand demand fluctuations a lot better by using these technologies. Just to give you another example, in clinical trials, we're now using Gen AI to identify patients and then also create the consent forms for them so that we know that, okay, we've identified the patients using the data analytics and AI. Now, what is the consent form that will help us register or get accept us from these patients to participate in the trial? So Gen AI is now able to create those consent forms. In the past, those consent forms were created manually. There was a software and you would take this data, then you develop that, and a lot of people were involved. Now, first draft of a lot of consent forms can be created automatically. Same with dossiers. If you are getting a lot of this data during the course of a trial, at the end of a trial, you used to have about 60, 90 days when people used to sit together and build the dossiers, depending on what's the format required for Europe, what's the format required for US. Now you can get Gen AI to build the formats as the data is being collected. So by the time the trial is probably nearing its end, you've got 60 to 70, 80% of the dossier done. People are reviewing the dossiers. People are already checking for mistakes and looking for any type of disconnected data and are able to work on something that Gen AI's applications are already creating.
Interesting examples there. And obviously, I know LLMs have been around for a while, but obviously, I know it's been a massive impact in the really last couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see how further developments occur within these type of models. And that also have the knock-on effect with other models as well. Because I think people got it's not just LLMs, is it? It's like you've got to partner it with the other models because it's going to have that knock-on effect. And obviously, like I said, make that impact that businesses want to streamline operations, efficiencies, etc.
Sure. Marketing. We've talked a lot about R&D, but in the marketing side as well. If you want to create digital campaigns based on how the patients are reacting or the doctors are reacting to your medication and the messages out there, Gen AI is now helping you create better campaigns. It could potentially put a lot of agencies out of work if they don't adapt to this new ways of working. But you have now on your hands Gen AI tools which can really in real time adapt your online media, your offline media, your messaging, and really give you recommendations. Now it's always up to the brand manager or the marketing director to choose what he wants to implement and what medical would approve. But even Gen AIs would get even stronger applications where they'll also have medical input to say, what can you actually say? And what would be approved? And then at some point, that whole process will become automated. So you were getting to a point of creating marketing campaigns that would be real time. They would be adaptable, they would be real time, and they would be absolutely in tune and personalized to individual patients as well. So if you and I suffer from the same disease, we might not see the same messaging when we are on our mobile phones or when we are on our TVs. You might see a same brand, you might see a completely different TV commercial, and I might see a completely different TV commercial. On your Facebook or Instagram or something, you might get a different messaging from the same brand, and I might get a different one. And if there were six other people sitting in this room, they all might get a different messaging, depending on what their profile is and what their online media footprint is and what type of information they like to hear. Do they like to hear more scientific? Do they like to hear more benefit oriented? So we're getting to the point where generation of content by using these models, especially the Gen AI and LLM models, will speed up development of communications. And that again, as I said, was a huge part of the investment that pharmaceutical companies, healthcare companies, payers, providers do as well. And shaving off investment from that and putting it back into making the drugs more accessible or cheaper is, I think, the way forward. Or putting it back into R&D and developing new drugs even faster.
Yeah. So there's many ways you can look at it. Obviously, I know like, the term data driven is a hot topic, isn't it? A lot of firms are using it. So, what tips would you give healthcare organisations that want to become more data driven?
I think a couple of things I would say. First is start somewhere. Across your value chain, you've got R&D, you've got preclinical, you've got clinical, you've got strategy, you've got commercial, you've got brand management, you've got execution in the market with sales. Start somewhere. Wherever you feel most comfortable, wherever you feel like you have the maximum strength, play to your strength. Invest in partnerships. Don't try to do it yourself because your data is high quality. No pharmaceutical company has low quality data. Otherwise, they would be out of business. They'd get into trouble with the authorities. And so everybody has good quality data. I would say across multiple industries, healthcare probably has the most superior data because the regulations are so stringent. You're expected to collect the data, store it well, and manage it well, and also securely. So quality of data is already very good. It might not be harmonized as we talked earlier. That's an opportunity to start with and then start partnering. Maybe partner with a provider, partner with a model, partner with a company that can really help play the role of a glue by bringing a model and your data together. And then barrage this with a lot of questions in terms of what do I want to achieve? Where do I see the maximum benefit? I'll give you an example. I know I've got 500 sales reps. They go out to the market, they market a drug. Now I want to know, is their route plans correct? Are they visiting the right doctors? Is their segmentation right? Are they visiting the right doctors at the right times of the week or the month? Because they would have a certain frequency. Now that's where you have good quality data because your reps have been going to the market for so many years. You know the sales in the market, the recommendations that you're getting, the prescriptions that are being written. Bring it all together and get somebody outside your company who can mush this all together, ask the right questions, train the models, and then you start asking the questions and the prompts. And you'll realize that suddenly you will start improving. You start improving the productivity of your team. You probably need less people. You probably can make a few more calls. You probably visit a new set of doctors that you have not updated on your list. And suddenly your revenue starts increasing. And when your revenue starts increasing, it already pays for all this additional investment you're doing. So that's where I think if I distill it down, start small, start in your position of strength, really invest in partnership, and then use that to show tangible results with your revenue that you can then plow back into more investments for other parts of your value chain.
How can healthcare companies build like a culture of like innovation to support AI initiatives? Because there's always that threat, isn't it, with people in any company of the fear of AI taking jobs, etc. I guess how can companies really build upon that? Like innovation is key to success.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's where starting small and building confidence is so important. So, larger companies
Thanks.
have a lot more bandwidth. They've got a lot more opportunity to take some investment, put it aside, put it into AI and Gen AI initiatives, partner with somebody and see something in a smaller box. So, because if you try to do something that's across your entire value chain, you probably would make your organization nervous. They start feeling like, okay, we're going to go through a strategic shift, and that will then hurt your current results and your current productivity. So it's very important to pick a space, really harness the power of technology, data, analytics, AI in that space. Prove it out to your people that this does not result in loss of jobs. It probably results in better quality jobs. It results in higher profile jobs, more satisfying roles. It improves speed to market. It drives efficiency for your company. And it also maybe increases the revenue as well. So I think once you can prove that out, then you have a culture that sort of sets around it. Because most of the AI and Gen AI work we're seeing, the successful models are where pods are being set up. So smaller teams, multifunctional teams coming together, focusing on a particular space or a part of the value chain and really making an impact there. Then that sort of success leads to a proliferation of new pods, new partnerships, new licensing agreements, and then new ventures as well.
Many use cases in there for businesses. They want to do this, want to do that. I think again, like you said, you can't do everything, can you? Because I think, especially when the Gen AI hype but took off, like suppose so many companies where they just got swayed off to go down the Gen AI route when really that's maybe not the best route for them because obviously it's still an infant and there's other models you can use to obviously, or other tools out there that can probably maybe have done it better. But obviously, I guess, people got sucked into the hype of the new tool on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you try to do too much with a new technology, any new technology, when mobile phones came, when digital marketing came, when search engine optimization came, all of this has happened to us in the last 10, 12 years. iPhones were not there in 2010. So think about it. So much change we have seen in the last 15 years that we haven't seen in the last 30 years, 40 years before that. So, in that environment, trying to do too much too quickly could lead you down to the Kodak moment, I say. So, Kodak as a company disappeared because they were making better cameras at a time when people were moving to mobile phones to take pictures. So we just have to be really careful. What is your core strength as a pharmaceutical firm, as a healthcare firm? You can't use AI to say, okay, let me go into new spaces. You have to really use AI and Gen AI to make yourself more efficient, more productive in the space that you're. If you're a data analytics player, you don't want to become a pharmaceutical manufacturer by using Gen AI and models. If you are a pharmaceutical innovative company, you want to make sure you focus AI and Gen AI and harness the power of your data and innovation culture to develop drugs faster. You don't want to become a data analytics player. So that's very important that companies try to change or pivot dramatically by using a new technology. First thing is always apply it on your core strengths and improve that. If you feel like your core strengths won't stand in time because technology is going to disrupt that space, then it's important to pivot. That's how I see it. It's where to play and how to win. Both these things are important at the same time. You can't choose where to play separately and how to win separately. If you're gonna, you have to use them as a two by two matrix.
That's obviously great advice, and yeah, I think it's obviously just yeah, it's the way, isn't it? Really, because you want to stick to your strengths, and that's you. Obviously, if the time is right, you will succeed. End of really, isn't it? Like
Yeah. And that's why you're seeing a
so,
lot of pharmaceutical companies are becoming very nimble. They are starting to say, okay, I'm going to focus on innovation. I mean, look at Pfizer. It's shed a lot of their divisions that were focused on generic products, that were focused on products that probably were off patent. They've hyped them off. They've become very nimble, focused on few areas. Then other pharmaceutical firms are increasingly focusing on fewer therapy areas. In the past, they used to be very large. Novartis is an example. They chose to focus on few areas. GSK, for example, chose to focus on few areas. Novartis gave their vaccines division to GSK and took GSK's oncology division to Novartis because Novartis said, okay, we'll focus on oncology as a key area. Immunotherapy is another key area. GSK said, we want to be one of the largest players in vaccines. So it's also very important to really define in your strategic framework what therapy areas. There are about 27 therapy areas globally in pharmaceutical. You can't play in all of them. You same in consumer health and OTC. You've got 5 or 6 different categories. You can't play in all of those categories. Each of them are as big and as complex as therapy areas. You can be a
I think
dermatology player, but you can't be a great vitamins player. Same with the skincare. Look at L'Oreal. L'Oreal plays in skincare. It's not saying now I'll become a vitamins company as well. And by the way, I'll start selling cold and flu medicine. That's the job for Helion and for Ricky Pinkiza to do.
no, I think you do see many businesses they try and dabble in too many markets, and you're losing your. If you're 100 focused in one market, you've got 100% your games in that market.
Yeah.
If you start cutting it up in different markets, obviously you're splitting your strengths, aren't you?
That's right. That's why you see in pharmaceutical, you always see innovative players, then generic players, and then you see CDMOs. So these are manufacturing and contract development organizations. And then you also see a regional overlay as well. So there would be generic firms typically tend to be more regional, innovative firms tend to be more global because they can really innovate and bring something across different parts of the world. But generic firms tend to be regionally focused. I'm a strong generic player in Europe, doesn't mean I would be as strong in Asia or in Latin America as well. So you have to really pick and choose because generics, the margins are lower than pharmaceutical innovative products. So you have to really manage your cost and your supply chain a lot better. So again, their technology data is so much useful by using AI and new work processes and better managing your data. you would be able to potentially be a generic player that's globally available. But today, you see more innovative players being more global, generic players being more entrenched in particular geographies, and then you've got contract manufacturers or raw material or API manufacturers that are very region specific.
I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been really beneficial. I hope the listeners have enjoyed it. I really appreciate your time, Amit, on today's podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I really wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And let's go make healthcare accessible to everybody at a more affordable price and really change people's lives. Thank you.
Cool. And thanks everyone for listening this year. It's been much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.